Investments to discuss impact and purpose in investing. Felix, it's great to have you with us. Welcome to Trade Talks.
Thanks for having me on, Jill.
You got it. And can you tell us more about impact investing and profit with a purpose and what that means to you?
Yeah, no, in very simple terms, this means that we invest in companies that do well by doing good. Impact investing is about 15 years old now. And while it's actually taken off in terms of the industry, today valued at almost $700 billion, 15 years ago, this is a very new idea. And LeapFrog came up with the term profit with purpose to basically encompass companies that were doing well by making sure that they were investing both in terms of financial inclusion, in terms of healthcare, and also today in terms of making sure they're investing in an environment and stakeholder types of areas as well.
You had mentioned that you invest in companies that do good. Can you describe LeapFrog's approach to healthcare investing as an example?
Yes, correct. At the core of what we invest in is basically what we call the emerging consumers. There's about 4 billion of them now coming into the market. And we think this is a very attractive market. And so there's three areas that we look at when we're looking at investments. So the first is trying to increase access to healthcare services to these consumers. Today, what that looks like is a lot of companies are focusing on providing these services to people away from the hospital. So we'll look at companies that are investing in wearables, for instance, investing in fitness, wellness, and prevention. Secondly, we're trying to also make sure that people have the ability to pay for these services. And so the types of investments that we'd be very attracted in are companies that are focused on including new insurance type of products so that people have better access to these services. And then I think the third part, which is relatively new, is also looking at the impact of climate and how the environment affects people's health, particularly when you look at populations that have been impacted by COVID.
Where do you see LeapFrog investing next, whether it's expanding sectors or different regions around the world?
Yeah, so we invest in markets in Asia and Africa, and we'll do more of the same. We think that we have a very differentiated strength in terms of investing in these markets where we live and work. We've been there for more than 15 years. And so for us, I think that's pretty much the same. However, COVID has opened up some new opportunities where we're seeing a lot of scaled up digital and technology platforms. We're also seeing an increasing amount of companies that are basically moving towards getting care to people where they live and work. And so as we see these new distributed models, those will become very exciting areas for us to also explore.
How do you see impact investing evolving in a post-pandemic world?
Yeah, well, COVID has clearly had a big impact, not just on public health, but also on global economies. And I think a couple of things have transpired. One, increasingly consumers are going to be looking at purpose-driven companies, where they're going to be asking what these companies are doing in terms of their stakeholders, in terms of the environment. And that I think will lead to an increase in the amounts of impact, amounts of capital that flows into impact investing. I think the second dynamic we're seeing is that regulators are also getting involved. And so you're looking at places like the UK, where the FCA is not only increasing their scrutiny, but also now tamping down on companies that are not focused on what they call ESG. And so I think the overall impact will just be an increase in impact investing and private capital flowing into areas that companies are actually driven by purpose and doing well by doing good.
Why do you think people should have an impact investing mindset, and what do you say to people who are skeptical of this mindset?
It's a great question. Look, I think the market has spoken. If you look at the impact investing industry today, it's at $700 billion as measured by the Global Impact Investing Network. Some are putting that number at 2 trillion, right? If we include development finance institutions. So the market's saying that you have to focus on this as a tool for investing. I think secondly, as I mentioned, the regulators are looking at this as well. But probably most important is that consumers now, when you ask consumers, I think about 70% of them would actually focus and trust and champion companies that are purpose-driven. And so I think impact investing is here to stay. And frankly, this is the new way of capitalism.
What has been your favorite or most memorable investment to date?
Oh, that's hard to pick. It's always hard to pick, between your different children, if you will. But there's a company called Healthify Me, which is a Singapore-based company. Healthify Me focuses on wellness, fitness, and nutrition. They have about 20 million downloads. The 2 million customers, have been growing about 100% year on year, have done very well through COVID. We led an investment in July of this year for $65 million alongside folks like Khosla Ventures to really help this company scale and expand beyond their core market today in India, but bring that type of technology also into Western markets as well. And so that's probably a very exciting one because it embodies a lot of the different elements of our investments, including using digital technology to increase access, including helping people stay out of hospitals. And I think also, as a consumer app, this is actually one of the ways that I think will continually will continually move towards increasing our access to us healthcare. So that's probably the most exciting one at this stage.
All right, Felix, we appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you, Jill.